Good morning, people. Welcome to another edition of the Early Watch. Uh, Sitting here trying to figure out where I want to start at. And that song came on and popped into my head some kind of stop motion Japanese thing that the monster hero, whatever the hell it is a flying freaking turtle, big one.
Mm-hmm.
And I cannot remember its name.
So I'll have to look it up too. But that's a bad guy, right? That was, or was it an ally of Godzilla?
It was a good guy.
Okay. It was Gamera.
Gamera, that's it.
Giant monster initially produced to rival the success of Godzilla. However, the general configuration of the turtle, blah, 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 whatever. A bunch of nerd talk. But yeah.
It's big flying turtle, but it flies with rockets.
Yeah, that what was cool about it is that he could fly around with rockets out his back legs. So here's that.
And something he could go faster if he spun, things like that. I mean, this just has been playing on one of the local broadcast networks here. There's 2 or 3 different ones. And that, as soon as you started that Godzilla theme, man, bang, that popped into my head. And while I'm here with this, I want to say thank you, G-Webs, for co-hosting with me and actually putting the show on air.
Yeah, no worries.
I'm not sure even where I want to start at now. I couldn't think of it. Bring a hell of a lot.
Well, let's talk about today. It's May 21st, right? So that makes it the anniversary. Or no, it's yesterday was the 21st. Dang it, missed it. The anniversary of the Cincinnati Revolt. So NRA had gone soft after the 68 Gun Control Act, at least in a lot of people's opinion. And instead of becoming political after the 68, 68 was all the gun control, stopped being able to mail order guns, had to start signing their name every time you bought ammunition. 4473s were created. And NRA just said, yep, okay, because they were afraid, I guess the perception was they were afraid of worse stuff. And instead of fighting it, they put their tail between their legs and they were going to run to Colorado. They were going to leave Washington, D.C. and quit being a Washington organization and become a Colorado hunting and sportsman's organization. And Neil Knox and Harlan something got together, and Harlan Carter got together and contacted the 1,000 life members. The 1,000 life members. So there's 1,000 life members that showed up, and 1,500 life members that voted by mail or called or something. And they made an organized effort to mobilize the membership of the NRA, and they literally removed the board and seated a new board, and Harlan Carter was appointed the president, and they stopped the acquisition of the Colorado headquarters and started the NRA ILA and began work on defeating on trying to take apart the 1968, I guess you could say. They began work on the 1986, what would become the 1986 Gun Owners Protection Act, which removed a bunch of stuff from the 1968. Wasn't perfect, and we had the stupid Hughes Amendment in there, which got rid of machine guns, but it all started from this. And anyway, it's a day to remember that membership can make a difference in an organization that's not working right, and it can be changed from within, done well. And it's not necessarily perfect. Just because you change something doesn't make it perfect forever. It changed and it was useful, but anyway, there's things to learn from that, and there's things to learn from, I guess there's things to learn from their success, and there's things to learn from their failure. I'll be talking about more of that.
Let's be clear here that before the, what, 77? Was that in 77 that happened?
Yep, 1977.
Before then, the NRA really wasn't that big into lobbying.
Oh, no, not at all. Yeah, exactly.
Uh,
There wasn't a lot to lobby. I mean, to be honest, there wasn't all that many attacks on the second, but they didn't do anything to prevent something like what happened in 68 either. I guess
well,
that's short-sighted. That's not true.
I think that the 68 thing kind of hit him in the face.
Right. Nobody knew 68 was about to happen. That's for sure.
I think it was over and done with before they even had time to digest what it was.
Oh, no, the 68? No, I'm learning more and more about that. I'm reading Neil Knox's book right now, which is very interesting because it has good information and facts and data, and it's written by Neil Knox technically because it's Neil Knox was the guy who was the president of the one of the first presidents of the ILA, and he was a prolific writer in like various periodicals. And what this book is a collection from his son of his articles and like from the various eras about the various topics. And so it's got a lot of good information. However, because it's not an actual book, like here's a guy sitting down and writing a book, with chapters about different topics. It's sort of all over the place, and it's an article about this from here and an article about that from there. And from these articles, you can piece together kind of the different campaigns or the different situations, like the 77 77 October Revolt or Cincinnati Revolt. But because it's in the form of articles, it's sort of the public wrap up or the public report of what happened. Or sometimes, here's what's going to happen, here's what's going to happen. And then an article where it's like, here's what happened. So it's not necessarily like, here's an author writing about his, influence or his part in, something. So it's a little, there's holes in it. It's not complete. It's a little lacking of, 100% of everything, but it is interesting to see some of these points. But anyway, 68 was the Dodd Amendment or the Dodd Bill or something. And I guess it had been around for quite a while. I'm trying to find, I don't remember off the top of my head, but it was at least years before 1968 that it had been around. And Knox, as a writer, had been aware of it. And he'd been telling people, hey, this guy's crazy. Look at this bill. Hey, this guy's crazy. Look at this bill. Then the assassination started happening. And, Congress, federal government, of course, starts looking around for, hey, what can we do to appease everybody? What can we do to solve this? And then here's Dodd with his bill. And then that becomes the 1968 Gun Control Act. It actually happened, though, in two steps. There was two things that happened in 68. So that's why it's frustrating to try to keep track of it all, because it's, a bunch of similar named things that happen months apart from each other. So, but it all happened in 68. So you could just say it was all an effort in 68 to satisfy the concern or the, I guess, hysteria of the population, or the perceived hysteria based on the media.
I suppose so. The big problem back then, all the way up until just within the past 10, 15 years, is the dissemination of information was pretty damn slow. Back then, you had 3 fucking TV channels, 4 if you were lucky, and any other information you got was radio, which was probably pretty popular at the time, and mail, which was the key way you got information sent to you. There was no internet publicly. The military had one. Amateur radio had something going after a fashion. But even like for the 84 thing, 86, is that 86? I mean, I didn't really hear much about that until after the friggin' fact, because it's fucking month old. by the time you receive, your Field and Stream or your American Hunter or whatever the hell magazine you got that would talk about it.
Right. And now, allegedly, and I'm reading this from Neil Knox. So again, Neil Knox is a guy who's a writer, and so he's got an article in Shotgun News, and he's been around for a while. He's got his own magazine, and Gun Week, I think, and so he's writing, and then this 68 or whatever thing starts happening. NRA, I guess, well, at least from, again, Neil Knox's perspective, NRA was publicly saying, oh, we need to get rid of this 68. 68 or this gun control act's a bad thing. Gun control act's a bad thing. But I guess they were working with whatever to frame the bill and create it. I guess, again, with the idea that if they didn't help, then it would be worse. So I'm not sure. It's going to be difficult to try to find, I think, real info from that. Maybe it'll be from like memoirs of the representatives or something who are involved with it, but I don't know how much. I don't have time to get into all that. I'll see if there's other books written on it if people have already researched this. It's really the first time I'm really getting into it, but I think it's important because we're definitely repeating history here. The 77, the frustrations they had in the 70s were parallel, if not identical, really. I mean, it's crazy how similar they are to the situation we're in right now. And then what's interesting is I just read one of the little article blurbs or whatever you want to call them from this book the other day, or earlier today. And Harlan, the guy who was the first, or was that president of the NRA after the Cincinnati Revolt yesterday in 77, he takes Chris aside. I guess they had been friends and they worked together. Then they started fighting with each other and kicked Chris out of the NRA for a while. And then after a while, they became friends again, and he comes back to the NRA ILA. And at that point, Harlan takes him aside and goes, you got to look at the pattern. Every 10 years, the NRA leadership gets frustrated and washes it and flushes itself out. And if you look back through the history of the NRA, I guess that's the case. And it had to, I'm trying to remember now, it went back to 68 with the Gun Control Act. And then it went to 58, and I guess the election of some senator in somewhere who was really anti-gun, and that pissed off the membership, and they changed the leadership of the NRA. Before that, it was the 50. Before that, it was 40s, and that was a result of the 34. So before that, it was something else. So I guess every 10 years, the NRA had actually kind of gone through this routine till you get to just recently when LaPierre's been there. So yeah, it's crazy how this history is, and I'm not saying I'm the first to discover it. It's literally written in a book, but if I can do something, Philo was asking, what's the point of this project? The point is to illustrate what we've already gone through. Hopefully once I've accumulated it, I'll present it in ways that people can find it useful, and then the information will be there for others to use, and then we won't be unaware of it. Hopefully we will be altogether, we'll be a little less or a little more aware of what the people did before us, so we can move on and not repeat some of the things that they've already muddled through or waded through. So no, you're not wrong. There's two functions. I'm just going to respond to Philo, who said he thought the Minuteman University was a video making tutorial. There's two aspects of Minuteman University. It's to teach people how to make content, and then some resources. So there's Every Second Matters is sort of a resource, and it's designed to allow the organization's messages to get out there and to allow us all to help facilitate that. I didn't want to get it muddied down with a lot of reference material, so I'm using the Minuteman University as an archive for reference as well. So it's there for people who are creating content, and it'll give them some skills and some resources. So the skill side of it is how to build a website, how to use social media, how to use your cameras, how to use your software, and the collaboration there, where those of us who've used the stuff for a while and are interested in helping people who are curious and learning, we can all facilitate that. And then on the resource side, It's just information so that we are having a conversation and we wonder, when was something created or who was involved in that, then it's just a place to archive that kind of information. So you're not wrong. It's both of those things. Anyway, sorry to cut you off there, Tony.
Sorry. I think, and I'm not exactly sure when it happened date-wise, I think it was late 80s, when Charlton Heston stepped in as president of the NRA. Charlton Heston, pretty damn staunch gun supporter, although I do not know where he stood on the AR-AK thing.
Yeah, so that's an interesting one too. Again, I read a little blurb out of this Neil Knox book, The Gun Rights War. It's got the Liberty Bell on the cover. And one of the things I'll do in one of my next steps here is I'll set up a library over on the Minuteman University, because I'm going to start whaling through these books to get more facts out of them. But Neil Knox, so like I said, he was a writer. Then he's involved in the 77 Revolt, and he becomes the head of the ILA. He gets in a fight with Harlan and the direction of the NRA and leaves and gets kicked out of the NRA for years. Comes back to the NRA and he's in the ILA again. And he's working his way. He's about to be the president of the NRA. He runs for president, and who wins by 3 votes over Neil Knox is Charles Heston, right? So his first speech for the NRA was, "We don't need AK-47s on the street." That was his first speech for the NRA. So that had and he was just fighting with Neil Knox to win the NRA. So basically like 50-50, they're pro-gun buds. So he does this speech and they get, I think from the way I'm reading this, is they got massive feedback from it. And LaPierre tells him something. And his next speech is from our Cold Dead Hands speech. And from then on, it was no compromise. So Charlton Heston, it sounds like, was, being given a direction, and his first direction was go be a FUD, and that didn't work. And then they said, don't be a FUD, be a whatever, hardliner. And then he kept that direction for the rest. So yeah, I can't say, but I think there's definitely a lot to learn from this, and it's interesting. Hopefully this will inspire other people to dig into some of this stuff that's out there. And, instead of just talking about the next new gun or the next rail accessory or something, we can get some people interested in digging up some of this stuff. And all these resources are collaborative. So as people discover information, we'll add it to the file. And then again, once anybody has a question going forward, hopefully it's nice and easy, better than Wikipedia with, just here's the facts. And then, again, we don't have to just, I don't know.
I got some. Are you posting books on the site or links to books?
I'm going to start, right, because here's the thing. As I'm digging into the history, I'm finding the creators, the founders and stuff, and most of these people wrote books. So as I'm kind of doing their bios and stuff, I'm going to start adding the books. And then it's easy enough to just take all their bios in a list and remove their names, and then it's just a list of books. So I'm going to do both. I'll have like a link to the books as next to the people as they wrote them, and then I'll have just a link, like a library link there. And some of them will be kind of interesting. So I'm looking at recently I've been looking at the sports. It's interesting to me to see, because I've been aware of all the shooting sports, but it's interesting to see how all the shooting sports kind of are part of the evolution of 2A in this country.
Because I got some basically history of 44 Magnum type books you could stick in there if you wanted to.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm not going to do that first. First, I'm doing 2A because I think that's important. That's got some useful relevance that we can use going forward. But then once we've got that created, yeah, I'm thinking going into the inventors and I'm personally interested in the cartridges and the evolution. It'd be interesting to see like when the various cartridges pop up along the timeline. And some of these people are interesting because it's all kind of interconnected. The guy that created this cartridge also is, helped innovate this gun, or maybe was, a person that created this shooting sport or something. So it's neat how there's a lot of interconnectivity there, or this person was best friends with this person, and then they, both were influential in these two different areas, but they knew each other.
Yeah, I found that kind of interesting too, because on these books I've talked about, they're from a guy named John Tappan, who was a writer for various magazines throughout his career. And it's basically, a lot of it is almost a tribute to Elmer Keith and Skeeter, whatever the fuck his name is. I'll have to think of it. But yeah, there's a lot of tied together throughout history. What the fuck is that Skeeter dude's last name?
Who?
It's a guy named Skeeter something. Skeeter Skelton. And these were various gun writers throughout the last century. Skelton, Elmer Keith, and Tappan. But Tappan put a bunch of shit on a website that you can freely access, various books. The history of the 44, and it starts with the actual Smith & Wesson 44, number one, or it would have been number 3, I think. But the original cartridge, which is different than what we see today, and then the Russian, then special, and all the way up to the 44 Magnum.
Did 44 come from something? I mean, did they pick 44 for any reason as a diameter?
To be honest with you, I do not know. Russia determined the parameters of the 44 Russian, which is the base of the 44 Special and the 44 Magnum. Smith & Wesson's first one used a bullet like the 22 rimfire, where the bullets got a rebated ass end, and it's the same diameter as the outside of the case. And Russians didn't want no part of that shit. Ladies love LaPierre. That motherfucker needs to retire. I mean, and he could be angel wings honest, and it's too fucking late. His name is so tarnished that he needs to go for the benefit of the NRA.
Oh yeah, and it's difficult. Like say, I'm definitely reading stuff that's biased because Neil's had a off and on relationship. You don't think he likes the NRA, doesn't love the NRA, doesn't hate them, whatever. But isn't going to hold any punches either. And it definitely sounds like there's. Well, anyway, I agree with you. Below saying, was there ever a time when the NRA? There ever a time when the NRA was an effective organization? Come on, man. NRA started in 1871, National Rifle Association. The stupid, where is it at?
How many things do you see in your shooting activities, like shooting sports and whatnot, that are affiliated or put on by the NRA or sanctioned by the NRA? Fuck yeah, they're out there.
Yeah, 1871, 150 years. So, come on, there's bad dudes in it, but the organization is massive and got a massive tradition, and yeah, they've been massive.
What you all have to realize is that back in the 80s, when a lot of this bad shit happened, we were a lot more bud-centric than we are now. There was no great love of the AR or AK. For one thing, there wasn't 50 million of them out there for, $350 a piece. You had to buy a fucking Colt if you wanted one.
Well, if somebody wanted to be a collector of surplus or a collector of militaria, right? And then let's say it was the 1960s. They went after gun shows with the 1968 Gun Control Act in part to get rid of collectors for whatever reason. What were you collecting? You're collecting World War II guns, bolt action guns. So as soon as you're a collector of militaria in 2000, 2004, after the stupid assault weapons ban, what are you collecting? Now that includes the AK, it includes the SKS, it includes the FAL, it includes SETME, it includes all these guns that are semi-auto and they look scary to stupid idiots. So it's just it's a happenstance of the time shift. We're 25 years later. So
after World War II, lots of guys came out and they were in love with their military rifles. After World War I and II, I should say World War I more specifically because of 1903 Springfield. And at the time, before World War I, you had maybe the 30-30 Winchesters, the king of the hill, as far as modern cartridge goes. And then they come out and the military guys are using a bolt action rifle in 30-06. And when they got out, they wanted that. Whereas with the AR, when guys got out of Vietnam, they didn't want no part of fucking AR again. And, that's because the AR got a bad rap at first, partially, and partially because these guys did not have the, today we're a volunteer army. A lot of these guys were drafted and, they've seen horrific things. And I'm not going to delve into all that, but the AR never got popular after its debut, until just recently.
Well, I don't disagree with you. I mean, it wasn't super popular. And I think, though, that the people that experienced it were the good dudes that went over there. Dead Horse has been doing this series on the development of the cartridge and the gun. So the last one I listened to was last Thursday's. I think it went up to through the 67. So it was like 65 through 67 or something. So they're not even all the way through the war. And they talk about the development of the cartridge from 223 to 556, and then the powder development, or like basically the situation with the powder. For a while there, they were using, they were, I guess, told to use the powders from World War II that they had, piles of. And as they were using this powder designed for other cartridges and making do, it got that reputation you're talking about as it was being developed, and the initial batches were sent in with and without chrome breaches or chambers and whatnot. That was all the stuff you're talking about. But then at the end of what Dead Horse was saying, they did a survey, and of the troops, or whatever you want to call them, soldiers that they surveyed, like all but 3 wanted an AR again, and the 3 that didn't, like one guy said he wanted something else, and 2 of them wanted the car. They wanted the shorter AR or something like that. So pretty much everybody was satisfied with it once they got it all working. But I don't know. I agree with you. When you got done with, it's not like you saw the modifications of the AR spring out right after the war and turn them into sporting rifles like you did after World War II or any of the other wars, really.
Yeah, and that powder thingy was, I get why the military would do that, but it was dumb. They didn't fully test the gun with the new powder, because the 223 case or 556, whichever way you want to go, to be effective is a lot of times on a lot of powders today compressed.
Well, that's the thing. They probably just didn't know at the time. They're still well, it's kind of interesting to listen to it all, but they were still figuring it out, yeah, I mean, there's a lot to it. And you figure it's no big deal if it's a Wildcat cartridge and you're doing it on weekends shooting out at the mountains or whatever. But yeah, when there's guys' lives on the line and guns are working or not based on experiment, basically, that's pretty messed up. It's pretty crazy.
Another thing I heard, and I don't know if it's fact or not, is that the first ones came without supplying cleaning kits for each gun.
Well, definitely talked about how I forget the name. Was it the Otis cleaning kit, or somebody made a cleaning kit for the BB guns, and the parents were making a big effort to buy all they could on the West Coast, basically, bought them all up and sent them over because the 177 cleaning rod was brass, so it didn't work better than the steel one that they were giving them. I don't know if it was just because they were not, what do you call it, deploying them, but also because they were steel and people like the brass ones too, or like the brass ones better. So I guess, yeah, there was quite a few BB gun cleaning kits over there. And you had to clean the thing. I mean, definitely had to clean the thing. They had all kinds of crazy situations with that gun in the humidity and the conditions over there. And then, of course, the crazy inconsistency of ammo wasn't helping nothing.
Yeah, there is a tragic comedy of errors there when they first dropped the AR on the ground,
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's why it's so interesting to listen to that story, because you're right. I mean, there's just every aspect of it was in flux, and yeah, it's one of those things that if any of those things would have failed, then it could have drastically affected the whole outcome of everything, really. And if who knows how if those things could have worked better and maybe sped things up, who knows? Oh, Vanessa talking about a bench swing. I thought she meant some sort of like swinging arm on a bench rest. She's talking about like a real bench.
Or porch swing?
Yeah, like you sit on.
Hell.
That made me think of one time I took when I was a kid, I took a what do you call those things? For lifting weights on bench press, I guess. Where you have like a thing to lay on and then the thing that holds the benches and you do push-ups upside down. So I had one of them, and it wasn't expensive. It was just a cheap one, and I wasn't using it, so I took it apart and then put a piece of plywood on top in that kind of mushroom shape how you would on a shooting range bench. Or wait, no, what did I do? I did it the other way. I did it more like a square with a bite out of it, and then you'd put that bite out of it over the bench, so that when you sat on the bench, you were kind of in the table a little bit. Anyway, I set that thing up. I had an El Camino back then, so I could just set that thing in the back of my El Camino because it didn't fold at all. It was just a huge weight bench with a piece of wood stuck on top. But that thing was great. I really liked that thing out when we go shooting out in the desert or whatever. I dragged that thing out there, and pretty nice. I don't think I've ever had such a nice bench because it didn't fold. There was nothing weak about it. It just, you put anything on it and it fairly comfortable.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I am eternally grateful for the weighted shooting rest, like the lead sled.
Oh, okay, really? So, well, you don't shoot at a range though, huh?
Yeah.
Public range?
Yeah. Not a public range, no.
Well, that's what I mean. So at a public range, we've got sandbags and stuff. They'll have blocks and sandbags and that kind of thing. So when you don't, yeah, I could see having something solid to shoot off of. So what do you like, a bunch of lead in there?
I don't remember what the hell I have in mind now. It's meant to put a bag of shot in,
Okay.
shot, weigh it down, and it straps the rifle into it. Plus, there's a strap on the backside of the rifle so it'll absorb the recoil. That's the only way I would work through getting that Savage sighted in, was that freaking weighted bit rest, because I couldn't put that thing up against my shoulder and shoot it enough to sight it in when I was wearing a t-shirt, which is, normally when I go out to sight them in the summertime.
You ever had one of them vests that have the kind of quilted shoulders?
Oh yeah, but
I
I
thought,
haven't had one of them since I was a kid.
yeah, I guess I've had them, but I never worn them. I'm thinking about wearing them now because I'm old and weak.
I got to get one because I need the game pouch part of it in the back. But yeah, I've had them, but about 50% of the time I don't hit that freaking pad. It taps on the pad and right in the joint of my shoulder, but that don't matter for most of the stuff I shoot because the recoil ain't that damn bad.
Yeah, I guess if you're really shooting good, then you're going to be consistent and that vest would work. But I could definitely see it being more like a t-shirt or something where it had a little bit of an arm and it was padded all the way out there for like, yeah, when you're out hunting and you don't get a chance to get a perfect weld.
Yeah, we already invent that. We could probably make a fortune.
Yeah. I've seen these ones where people, strap a thing on there like a bra or whatever. But same thing. If you're just sitting there doing everything perfect, I guess that'd work fine. But when I'm hunting, like you say, sometimes you're stretching around a tree or some shit or up in the air or whatnot. So yeah, those things.
I actually carry microfiber rags in my shooting bag for when I go to the range. If I'm shooting something that kicks too damn much, I'll fold one of them up, stick it on my shoulder, and that helps a lot. It's like that 95 and 45-70. Well, that gun weighs about 7 pounds, and it kicks like a friggin' mule on full loads. But I have no use to run that shit through it. I'm not going to hunt nothing with it.
You were talking something about, to switch subjects here, you were talking something about 22s. An article you were reading about accurizing a 22 or? By myself. So we'll read comments from out there about the Instagram. So John's saying his father Nami in 68 space gun with no cleaning kit. I don't know, I knew some guys in Nam and they never really complained too bad. But yeah, it's all different. I wasn't like that was more like guys in my unit, so they weren't. It was just probably a different type of bullshitting. I won't shoot my shotgun with my padded vest anymore. I have a t-shirt with padded shoulder, wet shoot material. Oh yeah, that would work pretty good. Those must stay in. Trap shooters wear pads. I don't know. I've seen guys out there wearing pads. I never did. We used to shoot like every Wednesday for a while. Right, well, let's go back over the calendar, see if we missed anything else. Firearms Owners Protection Act was May 19th, a couple of days ago. Ban the sale and manufacture of everything and whatnot. We talked about that one. History. I don't know if Tony's coming back. I'll leave it go for a bit here. If anybody wants to jump in, let me know. Otherwise, I'm sitting here by myself. Or guess what? We're going to go back over to 2A history because that's all I've been thinking about lately. So if anybody's got any questions about it, otherwise, just dig through the site a little bit. As I was saying, got two pieces to it, skills and resources. So I'll work on like the image side of it later, but you can see skills and resources. And I had been building up the skills side for a while there. So there's some little videos on most of these pages. And this is the kind of stuff Clover talks about on Thursdays. And anytime anybody's interested in doing some kind of more in-depth chat or some kind of a workshop or something on these, or some kind of open, whatever you want to call, room on talking about any specific subjects, we can do that. But this is designed to just kind of organize some of the skills that you might need, and then give you some links or some tips, and like I say, some videos to enhance those skills and work on them, and just to be aware of what skills are necessary, right? And then the resource side, I just started digging in because of this pervasive concept that the NRA is not on our side. The NRA is the NRA. It's an organization. It's like saying chocolate isn't on my side. If you don't like chocolate from a particular company, then your issue is with the company, right? So if the couple of people that are running the NRA right now aren't right, then maybe your issue is with a couple of people. But anyway, I wanted to get into that history and that info, and started digging into activists, and then it sort of has just evolved, and I'm not done yet. I don't know how much I've got to do yet as I'm digging, but I think I'm seeing the light at the end of the tunnel here. So I just started to list a bunch of activists and some of the founders of some of the key organizations on the Second Amendment, I guess history is the easiest way to say it, because it's kind of all realms of Second Amendment at this point. And I started doing these little cartoons of them for a couple of different projects that I'll be working on. And this is just a way to start putting the images with some information and putting that out publicly so people can check it out. So this is the activist page, and it's just notes. It's just growing notes as I find stuff as I'm doing some research here. And then you get into, again, the resources section. It starts off with, from the activists, I started to dig into the groups, and then I started to accumulate history. One of the big projects is a timeline. There's Tony. Let me just finish off. If I click versus here and scroll down, where's that timeline? Put on screen. Okay, go ahead.
I don't even know where I dropped out.
I think I was asking you, I was switching subjects and asking you if you were about to say something off air about 22 accuracy or something about, I don't know if you wrote an article about 22s or something.
I was just, there was an article in one of the NRA magazines about enhancing the accuracy of your Precision 22. I read it, and it was just not shit that interested me, but I thought the first thought that popped into my head was go buy a fucking Marlin. And I don't mean the Remington version, I mean the actual Marlin made gun. But that's just because I'm a huge fan of Marlin barrels. And that's all. I just being smart ass with that.
Oh, okay. Well, hey, you ready to be impressed?
That's sure.
This is Vanessa Kitty's swing that she was talking about. How cool is that?
Looks like you could play bumper cars with that.
That's pretty wild. I like that.
It is. What is that block pile back there? That structure, is that a backstop for shooting?
That'd be cool. This here, this looks like a fence, and that's somebody's house, I'm guessing. This here, though, I don't know what this is. You'll have to tell us. Maybe a barbecue thing?
I think it would be a good start for a backstop. I'm sure the neighbors wouldn't mind.
No. If you're considering enough to invite them over, then why would they care?
I got me a bullet trap in the mail yesterday. Today's Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yesterday. And
so what are we talking here for 22?
Yeah, rimfire. But I can
nail that looks like a coffee mug, or is this like a Looks like a shooting gallery, like a square thing. Words.
Square thing like a shooting gallery where you clip the target onto one of them clips, like they clip papers together with spring clip thingy.
Yeah.
And it's made out of 1/4-inch plate steel. It looks like bolted together. Looks really good with shorts. I can sit in here and shoot all day long. But he hears me. So I can be shooting gallery now. And I may or may not have shot it a few times already to check to see if it worked. I wouldn't shoot long rifle in here because freak the fucking neighbors out. God damn, out of a rifle, shorts are just not much different than a pellet gun. You hear it hit the target more than you hear the gun go off. And my wife comes trotting out to the garage with it when it got dropped off on the front porch, and she says, "What the hell is that?" And I said, "That's a box of earplugs." And she said, "Bullshit. They weighing 20 pounds. A lot of them in there."
These are the good ones.
I had bought 2 packages of earplugs, So there was, 400 of them in there. See, I told you.
So how big is this thing, though?
It looks like the opening on it's about 1 foot by 1 foot square. And then it's probably 10 inches deep, and the top angles to the bottom on the backside, so it's a wedge-shaped thing.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm sure I had the same thing, just scaled down for my BBs back in the day. In the basement, shoot BBs basically endlessly.
Yeah, it trap BBs just fine. It's way heavy for a BB gun. I mean, it does weigh 20 pounds.
And how much was it?
I think it was 40-some bucks. I honestly don't remember. I mean, when I want something, if I think the price is right, I just buy it. I don't pay that much attention. I think the earplugs and the backstop cost me $60. So I think the earbuds were $10 a package. But to be honest, without looking, I don't know. I'm going to try it and see if it will hold cowboy action loads. It ought to hold up to 44, 200 grain bullet going 600 feet per second. I won't try it here in the garage.
Yeah, bring it out to your place and see it.
I know the neighbors would flip out hearing that shit.
Oh, shit.
I think this year I'm going to hit the woods with all shorts in my gun. They're plenty damned accurate. You carry more. I just don't know if the velocities. Oh hell, they're 1,000 feet per second. Remington ones are. No, I think I'll give it a try anyway.
don't know how to work this. Let me test something here. Go like this. This.
I can't see what you're doing.
Oh no, I'm not trying to show you. I'm just. I don't know. I think I do have an agreement with Midway. You mentioned trying to hook up a link on there for Midway. I have to talk to Clover and figure out how you work it on this system. But it looks like I'm set up with Midway, so I'll put a link up on the main page eventually. So whenever you're buying your next target trap, we'll get what?
Oh, I generally buy something from Midway every month.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah.
I'm either replenishing bullets or some other gun accessory. I don't buy ammo from them much, although I did buy 22 ammo from them because they had a pretty good deal. And if their shorts are still on sale next month, I'm going to buy 2 bricks of them. I wish I'd have bought the 2 bricks of them this time instead of buying the bunches of fucking Winchester that I bought. But I didn't know how accurate they would be. And I haven't tried them out of my Marlin yet anyway, so they're extremely accurate out of this Browning. Yep, Ozzy just said he placed the order with Midway yesterday. There are deals to be had at Midway, but you've really got to. Oh, I know why I bought the Winchesters instead of the shorts, because they got free shipping on them. Because I ordered 2,200 rounds of them and 500 round brick of the Remington shorts.
Huh.
They had Browning ammo and wood boxes on sale. 22 LR over the weekend for 4 cents a round. I should have bought more of that or some of that. But I had to borrow money off my old lady at some point, and I just assumed.
I can understand this thing. So I'm trying to figure out how to make that damn link work, and I can't figure it.
CCI quiet's better than short. Possibly so, but they're also a lot more money.
Yeah, they're not as cool as short either.
I had a couple hundred CCI shorts here, which I like really well.
I don't feel like you need 62 grains at 700 feet per second to kill a deer. Says they're $5 a brick.
I'm gonna have to check into that.
Have you ever shot the? What are they? Are they Calibri? Whatever the ones are that don't have powder in them, though, that are just just the rim primer and a bullet. But they don't sound.
That's what the BB and CB are supposed to be.
I think so.
Yeah, the ones I got from CCW
Might have a flake or two of powder in there. They have a little bit of noise.
I ordered I ordered shit. Got that stuck in my head. The CCIs I ordered were CB caps. So either they are that or they're representatives of that.
Well, have you talked to Jimmy at all?
No, I haven't.
I don't have either. So we'll just keep going with the idea that we'll keep the show going until he can get his shit back together and whatnot. So if that's the case, one of these days I'll try setting up in the other room. I should be able to do it with the new computer. I don't think I've ever set up a webcam on it. But if I can get a webcam to set up, we'll do a 22 short show if you're down for that.
Certainly.
I'm all about the 22 short.
I'm all about 22 anything, really. That was back when we was having that. If you just had to have one gun, what would you pick? I would pick 22.
There's definitely stuff to be said for that. Although if you pick an AR-15, then you can shoot 22 out of it.
I can carry thousands of rounds of ammo, even as frail as I am.
That's when the 22, when they start going after the 22, that's what they're going to say. You can, in your hand, you can carry hundreds of rounds of ammo. A regular sized man can carry hundreds of rounds of ammo in his hand. And in your pocket,
In his pockets.
my goodness, pockets, it's a massacre. Evil pockets. That's why you're skinny jeans. You can't have as many bullets in there. 22 bullets.
And then there's those guys with them tactical cargo pants.
I don't feel like you need that many pockets or pockets that big to kill a deer. To hunt a deer.
But I ain't touching that.
Right. All right, so let's see. That is a large fire pit in the center suburban and can sit around it. Of course, the huge marshmallows by the campfire are a must. The wood shop I am building in that camera view will. Oh, okay, so that's a wood shop. Those brick, though, that pile of stuff we thought was arranged next to her benches.
Car keys or
Right,
cat
tool
keys.
shop
Lost
that-
me there.
11 feet. Nice. Huh?
I don't know. Gelsman said car keys or khakis. I don't know. I missed something evidently.
Oh, I don't know if he was.
Cargo.
All right. So Tuesday, 22nd. It's a lot of twos going on there. We're talking about 22s. What's next? When did we start this? About an hour early, or no? Did we start this an hour ago?
Oh no, I'm getting cut in and out of here, so I may be getting booted again.
Well, we do like to. This is the early watch, so we like to keep up on what's happening. Have you gotten any emails from anybody?
I got an email from somebody last night, but it was something that you mentioned on the show yesterday, so it's already covered. The fact that Minnesota didn't pass any gun control.
That's earlywatchnation.com. And I'm going to go over and see if my login works.
And please, if you want to share any news with me, earlywatchio@gmail.com. Fuck. And so thus far, I've managed to respond to every email I've gotten that was legit and not spam.
Look at that. So yeah, Night Strike gave me access to Early Watch. So right now I'm seeing if I can do stuff. Hey, what do you know? I can. So I'm an admin over there. So let's take a look at it. We've got Early Watch Nation. It's on WordPress, so it's pretty easy to work. If anybody wants to play around with the website, let me know. We can start working on stuff. Looks like they've got some links there, and looks like we've got Welcome, we're an organization focused on spreading, researching information in regards to the content attacks on our inalienable rights as American citizens through bias and agenda-driven propaganda. That's a long sentence. I suggest
Jimmy can get fucking wordy when he wants to.
Yeah. So we the people should be responsible for keeping each other informed and not be spoon-fed through mainstream facets. I really think that's a better first statement. Please feel free to browse the existing chapters, updated information about your state, find a little bit more about us, and find out how you can help. So basically, there's about us. All are welcome. A place where freedom and rights is the main topic, and uniting the community is the main goal. Start your own state chapter. Early Watch Nation is easy to set it up, so that's how you set it up. Then there's stuff on there, and you got contact us. You can join the fight. That's going to take you to Jimmy's email address. Contact your state rep. And here you got the different states. We're going to go to that next. Stay up to date on the Early Watch things on Twitter and Instagram again. Start your own. So let's contact us. Then we'll go to the chapters. And it looks like we've got a bunch of them abbreviated here, Wisconsin, Texas, and so forth. And if we click that, that takes us to my Google. All right, so I don't know what the hell you had going on there. We'll change that. And yeah. So these are just links to email addresses. All massive. It's just links to Gmail. So we will change that for sure. And then we'll go to this national scoreboard. Welcome to our state-by-state scoreboard. This page will serve. Okay, so we're going to set this up. Okay, so they got something going on here. Okay, so they got pages built for each of the states, Michigan. And once you're on Michigan, I guess you can go next over here to Missouri. So it looks like they're giving you like an update of each state here. There's a date here. So that's interesting. I'm thinking a scroll would be a little more useful because then you can see history and you don't have to post something if it's already been posted, or if something's amended, it can be amended. This thing we have to turn off because you're going to get a bunch of crap when you leave that kind of stuff on. So go in here and make sure that the discussion is set to off. And then we will go up here and we'll kill all of that. All right,
Mike Ozzy out in chat said Clinton County here became a sanctuary county, so we're up to 15.
15 in Illinois? I thought you already were at 15. So we got some bad data before. Or was I thinking 13? I thought it was at 15. But that's cool. 15 out of 100, so 15%-ish. 10 to 15% of your counties at this point.
Yeah, a lot of our counties don't have their full board meetings until the end of the month, so I know ours, my county, is 29th, I think. I believe that's what I read.
All right, so there should not be an easy form to set up the chapter that's asking for trouble. We need to have them all set up prior. I understand that. Make sure you look at the chat. Those emails are directly to each state chapter. Something is a chapter shouldn't go. Is in the chapter shouldn't go. I don't know what that means. Unless there is no chat there shouldn't be an email associated with it. I hear you, but you don't want to also have links to emails on the website because that's asking for spam. There's there's crawlers that go out there looking for @ and will just send many emails. And once you do anything to react to those emails, that'll indicate that you are alive and they will put you on list to get even more. So that's asking for trouble. What I'm going to suggest, I understand what you're saying. You don't want to just let people sign up and use it for without any kind of password. What we can do is create users on the website, and then the users will have a password to get into the page where you can use the form, perhaps, or we can put a password on the form. There's both 3 other ways to address that, but that's a good point. You don't want to just have a form because then anybody could fill it up with drivel. So we'll put some sort of a threshold on the input of information, but I don't have any problem with you guys' thing. I just want to make it easier for you so that you don't have information going to an email address and then require Jimmy to jump onto the website and edit it. Since he's not able to do that at the moment, that's an indication that you just don't want that to be your system. You can make the system automatic so that people who are using the thing or creating the info, it just can go straight to published. And as long as you put, like I say, some kind of a threshold, then you don't have to worry about the thing being filled up with garbage. And then once you've got people who are editors, they can always remove stuff at their discretion too.
I appreciate it. I know nothing about that shit.
If an anti gets a hold of it, they can screw it up. Anti gets a hold of what? If you're concerned about an anti getting hold of something I build on the internet, then I ask you to prove where they've gotten a hold of anything I've ever done on the internet. But anyhow, right now it looks like I'm taking a look at the site. It looks like you guys are sending stuff to email addresses, and then you're dependent on Jimmy to set it up. And then your scoreboard is hidden, I'm going to say, because it's not on the main page. And 50% of your main page is links to redundant stuff with poor design. So it's not visually appealing. And then you have to go all the way over to scoreboard and then dig down to these things, which you have to know are links. And then I suspect be searching for to figure out that they take you to pages, and these pages don't have any kind of consistent menu or anything. So I think there's some work to be done over there. If you guys want to leave it this way, we can, but I'm going to suggest we dig into it a little bit and make it semi-automated. If you're concerned about security over that, then I'll leave you to it. But
I'm not, but that the ultimate answer is for Jimmy to say.
yeah, exactly. So like I say, I don't care. I don't win one way or the other. So you can just let me know what you want.
I know that when I tried to post stuff on there, I found it somewhat difficult, and I had to post what I wanted as a comment or a reply, and that isn't the way it should be.
Yeah. All right. Well, it looks like I'm upsetting everybody, so I won't touch it. But let's do the show then.
Not upsetting me.
Yeah.
But probably at the end, you're going to have to talk to Jimmy about what he wants. I know he would prefer it to be easier, but
Right.
It's his thing, so I'm not.
Yeah, I know. Like I
say
said,
one way or another.
there's always a million ways to drive someplace. It's all about the people driving who need to take the journey. So all I can do is suggest, faster routes or different vehicles. But you guys can drive it however you want. We'll be helping you along the way and be there when you get there. So what else do we got?
I got nothing.
Shooting 22s from 1960 today. So what's your oldest 22? That's Ori saying he's shooting a 22 from 1960.
72.
Well, I have a Smith & Wesson Model 3, which is a 20. No, I have a Smith & Model 3. Yeah, it's a Model 3. I wish I had a Model 1. Oh, wait, is it a Model 1? I have either a Smith & Wesson Model 1 or a Model 3. I forget. It's not the first ones ever made. I'm sure it's maybe the third or fourth production of them, but it's an old gun, and that's the first cartridge. So that's my oldest 22. What would that be?
Mine is a Marlin or Glenfield Model 60 from 1972. But hell, I've had for years and years and years. I think it was 10 years old when I bought it. I think I bought it in 82 or 83, somewhere in there.
Okay, I have a Model 1 third issue, which would make it 1868 to 1882. That's my oldest one.
I don't believe I'd shoot that.
Oh no, I can't shoot it. It's just garbage. I got it for like nothing. It's just paperweight. It looks cool, and it is that gun, but it's not shootable or anything. It's all falling apart and just barely has the pieces, but it's neat to own. I mean, it's the kind I can own. It's just there. It's like a wall hanger.
Well, now we have a like 1900 to 1910 blank gun here that's 22 caliber. I wouldn't shoot it either, even with blanks.
Really? With a blank?
I don't think so, man. It's old cast.
What about this? What if you take anything like a short or something, take a pair of pliers and knock the bullet out, knock whatever powder might be in there? You could shoot that primer.
I don't want to try it.
Really? So you're not so worried about the compression as much as just whatever might happen with it getting that shock.
Well, it's old enough that the lock don't work anymore, so the barrel doesn't stay down. You have to tip it upwards to cock the hammer and make the sear hold, because the spring inside of it evidently is broke. But it will hold and it will drop the hammer, like it's supposed to. But I ain't. If something were to happen to it, my old lady would kick my ass. I bought it. I bought it as a gift for her. So we may have two here, but I don't think so. I think the other one we got that's similar is just a cap gun.
I missed all that.
Say, did I get booted again? That'd be the third freaking time.
No, I just was reading the gun channel site. I had missed a bunch of the ammo talk earlier, I guess. Well, 6 minutes ago, Knives started a lobby. So that means there's a discussion over there that anybody can follow and jump into. And unless Tony wants to open this one up for anybody, we've been offering it the last couple of days. Nobody's been taking us up on it.
After we go through the basic news of the day, it can be open to anybody. Don't care.
Well, let's do that. I'm going to jump over, since I was just looking at Knives' thing there. Let's look at some of what's going on. Knives just opened his show 6 minutes ago. There's us posting this show, like looking at ourselves in the mirror. Then we got Potatoes last night asking about stuff. I didn't even do my chat last night. I set it all up, and it was just me and who the hell was there? There was somebody there with me for a couple of minutes, and then I fell asleep waiting for people to show up. So I think I woke up after a while and saw that a couple of people had stopped by, but I don't know. So Ellis had a show last night. Matt had his show on nerds and stuff, and we did this poll on, or we did a bracket on toys from the 1980s. That was way past your playing around days, I'm sure.
Pretty much.
We got Tardot posted something about picture. I know I looked at it, but I thought it was a video. So I guess it's just a picture. Top 5 bad range habits. So flagging, unrealistic training, not enough ammo, not prepared, improper stance and proper grip, training beyond ability. I saw this on TV, not listening to the range calls, unfamiliar with the functions of the gun. What are your top 5 you've seen and have pet peeves about? So what do you think? Top 5, I guess, the ones that you've seen. But you go to your own range, it sounds like, mostly?
No, I have a privately owned range that I go to, but it's open to the public, but mostly members.
Oh, okay. So you got,
as far as I know, but it is a public range.
but you got other people there. In other words, you're shooting with others.
I haven't really ran across much of that at my range, to be honest with you, because my range is big enough, and when we choose to go, is the range is hardly in use, so I'm usually not training with anybody that I didn't bring. Shooting, I mean, with anybody I didn't bring. And as far as flagging others and shit like that, improper grip and stance, I'm teaching kids. So,
yeah,
of course they're doing that, but I'm trying to teach them. So,
I mean, I've been it's been a while now, but I've been a range safety officer out there for years, and really enjoyed it when I had the time. Way before YouTube, I was going out there every week, and it was just great. I really enjoyed it, hanging out with the old guys who were the other range safety officers. They were old guys, Korean War vets and stuff. And you'd be busy for a little while in the morning when it's cool out, and then as it gets hotter, you get the real shooters out there, and then there's nobody out there after a while. So it was pretty laid back, and it wasn't real difficult. And I don't know. I mean, I'm in Tucson, I'm in Arizona, so whatever that means. And I'm at a range, so that means something. So I'm not out in the desert, in other words. And I'm at my range and not some other range, so that means something because I'm on a certain side of town, and there's other people on other sides of town, and there's other ranges on other parts of towns, right? So there's all kinds of things involved, but I can't say you don't see flagging ever. I mean, I guess it's possible to see that at a range, but that happens once and you're off the range, right? I mean, flagging is not something that just goes on. It can happen, I guess, at a place where there's not any range officers. But again, I don't let that happen, especially if I'm with people. Like if it's me and there's some guy and it happens and I know the gun's loaded or unloaded because I've seen him just sitting there fiddling with it or whatever, and I don't know. You know what I'm saying? There's certain times when it's not going to happen, but you're with kids, somebody's not paying attention, you're not going to just let that go. So that ends quickly.
So that's the first fucking thing they're taught. You don't ever point that gun at somebody.
Right. So I don't really see this ever, and I can't say in my years I've ever seen this. Certainly not anything military, anything NRA, anything scouting, just not a thing. So I don't see that one ever. Unrealistic training, man, I see this more as a moment you go through in your evolution. So I'm a little different view, I guess, because when you just go to the range, it's different than when you're hanging out at the range, and that's different than when you volunteer at the range, and that must be different than when those guys that work at the range, right? They have to be there every day, rain or shine. I showed up when I felt like it, and I was there longer than most shooters, but I could leave whenever I wanted, right? Same like going to a gun show. It's different when you just attend a gun show, which is different than what I do. I hang out at a gun show from like 9 to 5, even though I don't work there. Then there's people that literally work there and they have to be there from 9 to 5, right? So everybody's got their different perspective on these things, but unrealistic training, I see that as more of a phase people go through than I don't see that as just things people do at the range. Because some guy will come out there, and again, it's like flagging. You might flag somebody once inadvertently, and trust me, that person, that human being is never flagging a person again. You feel bad when you flag somebody. I know it. People, you can just tell when they do it and they get called on it. They feel like they've done like the worst thing possible, you know. So that's one of those things. When you're being a Yahoo out there, you figure it out, and then you quit being a Yahoo. There's very few people that are just in Yahoo mode all the time. So I don't see unrealistic training as really that big of a thing. It's, you know, you'll see somebody like you'll some normal guy will just be out there shooting, or some parent who comes out shooting 22s. Then one weekend they're coming out there with their fancy AR that's all brand new and shiny. The next weekend they got all their gear and stuff, and then maybe a month later they're back to shooting their 22. It's just like one of those phases. So I don't really see that as like, oh, that guy. Not enough ammo. That's everybody all the time. So that can happen. That's just a mistake, right? Not prepared. I don't know. That's, again, I think you learn. If you're a shooter, you start bringing stuff. You can miss a thing or two once in a while. So that can be a persistent thing, I guess. And again, if you're sitting there watching a whole range of people, it'll happen every single day. But there's very few people who are that stupid to just always be not prepared. And again, it's almost like a transition too, right? At some point, people just start keeping the stuff in their vehicle, and they might not have it at the line, but 5 minutes later, they've got whatever they needed.
Well, and like my range has a gun store, so you know,
yeah, or like a
ammo, or
we'd have like tools and a scope. I mean, anything you might need, you got there at the tower, and people can borrow it or rent it or whatever, use it.
as far as the training aspect goes, I don't ever go to the range to train. I go to see what a gun will do. I know how to shoot a gun.
Well, yeah, but you've gone through training and you literally got paid to go to training, right?
Right.
And
Yes, I that is a what the hell do I want to say? I have to fess up to that one. Yes, I've had a lot of training.
And so I'm sure, though, when you were still training, like, and in the time that you were being trained, you might have done some of that practice at the range or whatever. I'm guessing that's what it's like for, I mean, I did the same thing, I'm sure. And then plus you just want to, like, I don't know, if you're at home dry practicing all the time, you want to actually shoot, you know, put the actual draw and fire into it. So you got to do some stuff at the range.
When I was a kid, you know, by the time I went to training, I knew how to safely handle a gun. Because when I was a kid, they taught us, and when you did something wrong, you got smacked upside the fucking head and berated pretty substantially, so that, and I get now what the hell they were doing, but it sunk in pretty quick. You know, don't point a gun at anybody. Otherwise, you're going to get fucking smacked upside the head, if nothing else. But we grew up with guns. I mean,
So
it's just one of those things. But I have done dumb shit with guns, there's no doubt. I'm human.
well, but you're talking about training. So, like I said, I think it's just people that either, well, I guess there's possible for people that like watched a video and then want to check it out. And then again, you're looking like a Yahoo in front of somebody. But if you were standing there like at the range watching that guy every time he came back, he's probably not doing it every single time.
I have not, at my range, I've not ever seen anybody that appeared to me to be going through some sort of training procedure. And aside from just, you know, practice.
Well, typically people that have gone to training, they're going to start drawing, right? They're going to be drawn from their holster a bunch of different ways. They might be doing some sort of drill on the target, right? Like that, you've seen those dot drills where it's like 9 dots, and you shoot like offhand at one, and then maybe weak hand on another one, and then maybe draw and fire at the next one, and then it's like draw and then fire at this dot for one, and then this dot for two, and then it's 3 dots in this one. You know, so it's just some different techniques or some different drills that will I guess, exercise different types of aspects of shooting. So sometimes people start going into more of those kind of shooting targets or those kind of like drills they'll go into, um, as opposed to just, shooting 5 rounds and looking through the scope and shooting 5 rounds and shooting 5 rounds at a
Now,
different goal.
full disclosure here, I intend to do some of that training when I start getting closer to actually going to start SAS matches, because I need to start working on how quickly I move the gun from one target to the next.
Yeah, see, so exactly. You might do something where you just shoot at the 4 corners of the target, right? Top, left, bottom, right, or something, and then uh, whatever, maybe pull the gun down in between each one or something, just so you have to reacquire the target.
Right. That's
And
yeah.
and I guess I don't know what the unrealistic part. I guess the unrealistic part would maybe be trying to do reloads or something, trying to cause malfunctions and just being a Yahoo. And like I said, that's, I guess, another indication somebody's gone to some kind of training or gotten a taste of it, that they're trying to induce malfunctions while they're shooting at a range, and that can freak people out. So it makes it look like you don't know what the hell you're doing, and you probably don't, because it's all awkward, and people don't like awkward stuff happening. They like nice, consistent, stuff at a range.
Now,
Improper stand.
if you're shooting on move, trying to go back and forth, you know, varying the distance to your target you're shooting at. Now that won't fly on my range, because you have to have courtesy for other people on the range.
Oh yeah, I mean, like going back and forth from the thing. Yeah, that
Yes.
happen. You can't do that. But I've seen people go left and right, like swing to the right and swing to the left to just sort of get off their standard, you know, stand in regular. What would I say? Um, form or whatever. Just kind of move the center of balance or whatever, so they're just awkward. And again,
Yeah,
that can pull out.
I don't have a problem with people doing stuff like that.
Like
I've
I said,
never seen anybody doing stuff that I thought looked stupid or anything like that.
yeah, I've seen some weird stuff. And then what can be awkward is when they're moving around with their feet at all, because of all that usually brass on a usually hard floor, right? So now you got the potential of falling around. If you're just standing there, there's less potential of you falling over with a gun.
Now, on our indoor range, they're absolutely adamant. You shoot at the target only. When you're in, you stay at your freaking shooting lane table.
Now,
That
yes,
gun,
I let you finish. Yeah, that's I've been thinking indoor range too. The unrealistic training could run into play if you're talking an outdoor range and you go out there and you got to share a bay with somebody, and they're all pissed off because they were out there running around doing something weird back and forth, because that will happen occasionally at an outdoor range. You'll see somebody doing just some kind of weird routine or I don't know what the hell, sometimes like just some kind of walking around and reloading mags in a weird way. I
so
mean, I
that's
guess
what I haven't run into at mine. I haven't seen anybody outside doing that stuff.
that'll happen out in the woods or like out here in the desert. There'll be places where people go shoot, that aren't ready filthy, so people don't mind if you shoot there. They're already torn up and shot up. So you'll go out there, and a couple of times I've gone out there and just experienced people doing weird stuff. But honestly, the stuff that you see the highest end guys doing started with somebody doing weird stuff or somebody doing something improvised and then developing it into the most efficient and repeatable methods. And the thing that interferes least with gear, or that's can be most are used by most people or something. So it's just improved. It all starts from somebody just going out there and changing mags while they're walking around, and that's 99% of it is just getting unawkward. Figuring out that, because so many of us, when we start out shooting, it's because we start out shooting just sitting there or standing there. And that's it ever. You barely even walk with a loaded gun. Maybe if you go hunting, you get a little bit of experience shooting on the move, or maybe shooting at trap or skeet. You get the idea of shooting at something moving, but it's a whole different experience when you're actually trying to draw a gun, walk and talk and keep an eye on something and then try to take a shot. So,
See, especially on our outdoor ranges, the first person on the range is the range master. Because they don't have people watching these. The indoor range, they're video camera, but not on the outdoor. So the first person, it's a club bylaw. First person on the range is the range master.
Oh, I see what you mean. The one, whoever's there is the guy who's going to start telling everybody what to do.
Right. They're going to pick distances and
that's
all
pretty.
That
must be how it is at our range, and I just don't remember the way they say it. But that's actually, I don't think it is. I don't remember anybody ever going like that. That's kind of a cool way of doing it.
When I'm there, if people come and they want to shoot at different distances than I do, I'll let them. Unless I just started and I haven't done what I needed to do. Because after that fact, I don't care.
Now, you're talking like in one of the lanes or whatever, like in an outdoor range?
Yes, but they're not divided lanes. It's just one great big huge ass lane where there's different targets bouncing in.
So what do they care if your targets are at 50 and theirs are at 200?
The range won't allow that.
So that's what I'm saying. What does the range care? Is it what they say? Why?
They do not want one shooter in front of another one because they're not really that wide. It's not as big a range as that one we went to in Oklahoma. It's probably about half that.
No, but I'm saying you're sitting in the same place. It's just one target is at 50 yards and the other one's at 200.
We have a solid backstop. Our targets are sitting right down at the backstop.
Oh, so you move where you're shooting moves, not where the target is at.
Yes.
See, ours are always you're sitting in one spot all the time, and then we move the targets to wherever the hell distance. So that's why I was confused. Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, obviously. Yeah. Nobody's going to shoot behind you.
Right. And I have had some stupid somebody do that to me on the rifle range. And I walked back to the guy and I said, "Did you not see me?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Well, in the future, if you do that again, you're going to be out of here." And he says, "I didn't know you wasn't supposed to do that." Okay. But this was a young guy, and, I cut him a little bit of slack, but it did piss me off. After I about pissed down my leg.
Yeah, seriously.
But we were at extreme sides of the rifle range, so, I wasn't really in any danger. But still, etiquette, come on.
Oh, no, there's lots of dangers. Ricochets, and again, just, he doesn't, that's why it's called an accident. He didn't intend to have the gun angled at a 45 degree from his downrange, but that's straight to you,
I let him know that he made an error in judgment doing so.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough to go sideways, but it's not tough at all to go off angle by 45 when you're loaded and ready to go. So, yeah, it's super.
And in order to solve some of that, our range cut the thing a little bit wider and put a 50-yard range in where the shooting line stays the same. So we have one 50-yard range to the very far left of the 100-yard rifle range. But still, they can't approach their targets without the other one cease-firing. There's more than one person there.
Yeah, well, that's usually consistent. You always have because then you got to worry about people. Yeah.
And what I didn't do was ask the kid to cease-fire before I went down. That was my mistake. I held up my hand and pointed to it that I was going down, but I didn't specifically say to cease fire. So, and the range manager told me I should do that. It wasn't all his doing, but he was still being kind of stupid.
Well, the next two on here are improper stance and improper grip. And I think, I don't know, those are bad habits, I guess, but it's like you say, you're either teaching somebody or they're learning, or the people are different. Some people just have a left foot that's 2 inches shorter than their right foot. So what looks improper is their proper. You know, women look goofy to me when they shoot, but they claim that it's super comfortable and works, right? And they shoot good. So what are you going to do? Tell them to shoot the way it looks right for us? So everybody's got their own stance and grip, but I'm no coach either, so I don't get too worried about it. I guess sometimes when you see the thumb over with the pistols, you know, where you're waiting for that slide bite and it never happens, but so they keep doing it. But you just that'll make me grimace a little bit when I see people shooting that way.
I suggested to the old lady about how to hold her gun, but I only really pointed out that you do not want your hand by the cylinder gap.
Yeah.
Because that will hurt. But she does cup and saucer or one-handed. Like, fine. You're keeping them all on the friggin' target at 15 yards, one-handed. That's what the hell am I going to bitch?
Let's see, training beyond ability. I'm not sure what that one is. I guess I would think that you could say that if you include people that buy really nice optics and are out there shooting farther than they really can yet, and they're just kind of wasting ammo or making it frustrating for themselves. A lot of times people with big fancy guns or whatever, again, you know, hunting season, we'd see it because some of the guys would just come in, do their thing, and they'd be gone. You know, they were just there to sight in their rifle and be gone, especially when it's busy. They're not there to fart around. And then there'd be people that were there for a while. And it's because, I don't know, they think something. They don't want to bring their target into like 25 yards and get it on paper. You know, so they're sitting there all afternoon shooting it at 50, trying to figure it out. Or just don't know how to work the thing, you know, sitting there cranking knobs and not interpreting the shots right, and just, you know, ending up with a shotgun pattern out there.
Well, along those lines, I seen a guy, and I stopped and watched because it stuck out to me when I was walking by. He was on the rifle range, had a new spotting scope, and he couldn't focus it. So his buddy was down at the freaking targets. He was up at the bench with his spotting scope, fiddling around here while 2 other people were waiting to shoot. And I watched this guy for a couple minutes, and I'm like, dude, don't you realize that you're holding these people up? You don't really need that dude down there to focus that freaking thing. And I don't know what the guy was doing, if he was pointing out holes on the paper saying, here, what? I have no idea why he went down.
Take like a freaking picture. So that's one of those things, nice things about phones. You can go down there and take a picture, tape all your stuff, come back and interpret later. You don't need to sit there gawking at the damn thing.
But that's not so much a bad habit as just being inconsiderate.
Well, but it can be a bad habit, I guess, when it's inconsiderate to others, right? Because, yeah, you're out there by yourself. Who the hell cares how long it takes you to do what, right? But, yeah, when you're holding up everybody else, then that could be a bad habit, I guess.
I also had a guy stop me and just chew my ass out because I laid my Super Black Hawk Hunter on the bench with the gate open. So you're supposed to stand that up with the cylinder swung out. Really? This is a single action, you stupid motherfucker. The cylinder don't slide out. I didn't say that, but I thought that.
Well, that's an opportunity to teach somebody about a new operation. This is kind of something you know about yet. So otherwise, training beyond ability. I'm thinking, because I guess I'm thinking of my range row as the RSO outside in the woods. I guess more like I see stuff on YouTube. I haven't experienced that too much, except for, like I say, maybe people doing weird stuff. But I don't want to say that's beyond their ability, because honestly, if somebody's got a gun and they're legal to own it and they want to figure out what it's like to shoot it walking around, and I guess all they see is some YouTube video, then I'm not gonna shit on that. But yeah, there's certainly better things to do if they're interested in it. Then they don't need to stay at that level. They can continue right on fairly inexpensively and get almost, well, really better training than the military and law enforcement. Certainly better than law enforcement, better than most of the military. But the type of stuff where the top end guys from the military come out and offer this training, and you can get basically the essence of the best military training for the most elite stuff. You know, people that are at that level coming out and teaching you the kind of stuff that's necessary for civilian stuff. So you can get some really good training. I don't know, but beyond ability, like I think that just means beyond your realm of knowledge yet, you know, beyond what you.
Hey, take this next one. I'll be right back. I got to go drain my bladder.
Right on. So we'll go jump on and see what people have been chatting about out here. People is joining us from overseas. Point away, gun away from everyone. Treat as they're loaded. Use safety equipment. Bring your own ammo. Yep. Don't go to the range and change your target. Someone. Yep. Pretty much same kind of rules we have over here. Pretty much universal. Over on this side. They're advocating a revolver style grip on a handgun or on a semi. Range etiquette must be passed on. I think one of the things that you'll notice too is the people that just the hit and go, people that go to the range and leave, are some of the people that are the worst as far as range etiquette. They don't know anybody. They just use the thing and abuse it and leave. And seriously, use it and abuse it and leave. They're the ones that don't care about picking up their own brass as much, or most of it kind of thing. They don't care if their target stands look a little rugged or whatever. You know, they just don't give that much of a crap because they only use it occasionally. They're gun owners and they're Second Amendment advocates for sure. But they're also some of the people that complain the most about this stuff. People that hang out there are usually your old guys, sometimes your kids though. And I mean, there was a couple of kids that actually, now that I'm thinking about it, where their parents kind of dropped them off, or they were old enough to drive out there, and they were, you know, getting ready to be in the military or something, or for whatever reason that was just their thing, and they'd be out there hanging out and shooting a lot, shooting 22s, doesn't cost much, and you know, just kind of BSing more than shooting, same way we do on the internet, right? Except it was a place in real life to do it, and the old guys that'll hang out there, but yeah, so anyway, if you're not one of the people that hang out at the range and are part of that culture or whatever, then real easy to dismiss it as whatever, overly restrictive or confining or whatever, or lame. But yeah, it's some of those things that we got to pass along. Doing all this research in the 2A stuff, don't use too long. I don't hear too long. I'm going to jump back over to that 2A stuff. There's a lot of neat stuff about the history of this shooting sports. And it looks like, you know, it's hard to tell from propaganda type of pictures from back in the day, how much it was really, how many people were, I'm trying to say, how much of the population was really into it, like how much of culture was aware of it. But the events, you can't dismiss the size of the events, you know, 6,000, 8,000 people events. I guess I guess I was just talking about range etiquette, and that got me into thinking about some of the shooting sports back in the day, and how, or range etiquette got me into how many people are partaking in the range, how many people are there to pass the range etiquette along, you know, so that it exists and, you know, gets passed along. That got me thinking about the youth sports and the stuff I've been researching here. And I was thinking how much of the, or, you know, some of these large shooting events back in the 60s, 70s, earlier even, I'm wondering how big those are, you know, how big those are. And I'm thinking, I just thought of it. I'm going to try to compare those to the size of like concerts back then, like whoever popular music of the day, like what the size of one of their concerts were. And I'll compare that to the size of one of the like yearly shooting events, like Creedmoor or one of the big shotgun events. And
Well,
then
the Beatles' last live concert, I think, was before 55,000.
55,000. I think one of these events, well, I don't know. I don't remember. They might have said 6,000, but if they said 60, that'd be crazy. But I don't remember. And then I'll take a look at like how big, one of the things I've looked at is like van and motorcycle events. See how big some of those were. Yeah, we'll just kind of compare it to other events of the time. And then I guess we can compare what we got going on now. Although I guess today it's a little bit different. You pretty much always had to go to do something back then or read about it months later in a newspaper. You don't really have to go to an event anymore to be part of it, right? You can just watch it on the damn internet and feel like you've been part of it. So there's probably not the same number of people that go to concerts and stuff. You kind of have to go to a shooting event to be part of it, but you don't have to go to a concert.
Now, they want to talk about, your particulars on range etiquette.
Right on.
What would modern people say about Annie Oakley?
What do you mean?
She'd shoot a cigarette out of her husband's fucking mouth.
I don't know. Do people still do that stuff? I guess they'd still throw knives. I don't know if that's fake or not.
I wouldn't try that.
I'd rather have somebody shoot something out of my mouth than throw a knife at my face. I'll tell you that.
Well, I'm going to pass on both.
Well, let's say you had to pick one or the other to get, some like live or die. You got to choose one of these others. You wouldn't rather have.
Take the gun.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be really hard to miss. And there's so many places you can miss with a gun. But with that knife, it's super easy to not miss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, you think about it, back in the day, man, they were not near the nanny, a bunch of whining fucking nannies that you see today.
Well, plus
I'm not
good shot.
I'm not saying that I disagree with a lot of the range safety. I don't disagree with any of it. But back in the day, man, they did some crazy ass shit for entertainment.
You got to look at when Annie Oakley was too. Wasn't I mean, it was not. It was there was we hadn't had guns for very long. There wasn't the guns were kind of like I don't know. I don't know how much that was. Like you say, people were just more rugged back then too.
I think around the turn of the century.
All right, so the next one is I saw this on TV. I don't know. Bad habit. I saw this on TV. I don't know too much of that. That may be like the people that are like, oh, I'm going to hold my gun sideways. I don't know what else people see on TV. I'm not sure what that one is. Not listening to range calls.
Now, we need to make a dividing line here, because not listening to range calls is not the same damn thing as not hearing them.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a good point, because I was going to say, we're talking public range now, or potentially, like you're saying, a situation where you just got a couple people got to work together because you're sharing the same firm or whatever, and you got to decide when you're going to go down there and fiddle with your targets. So yeah, I was going to say half the time it's just because people ain't paying attention. Well, I guess that's what we're saying here, not listening.
Right, but I mean, if you're out on your range shooting big bore revolver, chances are you're wearing double ear protection.
Well, exactly. And if you're not really, if you're just tuned in to whatever you're doing, you're just tunnel vision. You're not focusing on the people. And the other thing is, if there's not people right to the next to you, then you don't know that thing just yelped at you. Like you say, you could make your shot. Sometimes they'll have like a buzzer or a bell. And I call that on the range too. If a range is just going to do like a bang to let you know there's like a 5-minute warning or whatever, to let you know that they're going to call, then it's too easy for somebody to shoot during that, or like you're saying, have just a lot of ears on and somebody else shoots and they just don't hear it right. As opposed to somebody who will have like a little recording of a person warning you.
I mean, if you're working,
account services, and we're calling in reference to your current credit card account.
yeah,
No problems currently with your accounts.
Oh, good.
It is urgent, however, that you contact us concerning your eligibility for lowering your interest rates.
woohoo,
In the show, sounds like I got lower rates coming.
excellent.
Yeah, my worries are over. Thanks everybody on Patreon, but we're done. I now have lower rates. I'm done.
Where I was going before Heather rudely interrupted was that if you're on a range that's set up like I am, or the first person there is the range officer, you've got to make damn sure that you've got everybody's attention for the range calls. Because if they're wearing a decent set of foam earplugs and a set of cans that are not electronic, they may not hear you. If they're an old-time shooter, they may be fucking deaf. Or at least in my case, have severe tinnitus, where certain vocal frequencies just blend in.
So I guess that's though. Oh, what happened to my page? That's though where it gets into the bad. What was it called? Bad habits. Because now old guys, I give it to because they're old guys. They'll lose track or whatever. They'll get focused in on what. But that's the thing. If you are, or like me, you know you're got hearing loss or whatever, and you know that you're at the range, then you just keep in mind that you got 7 minutes or whatever. A good range will have some kind of a clock or some sort of an indicator, so some kind of light or something that counts down, so you kind of have an idea where you're at in the 15-minute window or 20-minute window, right? But that's where you get to be a bad habit if you're just the guy who's consistently missing the range calls. Because really it doesn't matter. It's the one that matters is when they say clear and get the hell away from your gun so everybody go down range. When you're the guy who's still fiddling with your shit, making everybody wait, that's where it matters, right? All the rest of the time, nobody cares. So, and then I guess the other side is, it's not really a range call, but when you're the guy, it's not really on here, really, is it? The guy that stays down there looking at his target for like an hour?
On our indoor, targets come back to you with the electric.
Well, then, yeah, you don't have range commands at that point.
No, we don't have much in the way of range commands, but there will occasionally be a ceasefire call. Mostly if somebody has a gun that malfunctions and they can't unload it. So then you have to get your range guy to come out there and escort you back. Because when my Ruger blew, I couldn't unload it.
Well, you'll also get like, oh, my mag, or like my freaking, what is that thing called? Spring retention cap thing on a 1911 went flying forward. When somebody's trying to fiddle with their thing. So you'll have a range thing, and they'll stick a broom out there and grab it back or something, or walk out there and grab it.
Yeah, that's...
Who was it that went to the range, and I think they dropped their 9mm, like they dropped their whole gun or something up front. And they had some rule at that range where they don't call ceasefires. It's a big range at a busy place or something. They don't call ceasefire for nothing. And then they dropped their gun up there, and they had to come back later and pick it up, and it was broken or busted or something, dented. Who was that? Was somebody on gun channels? Anybody remember that story?
I don't. Weren't I?
Wouldn't that piss me off? I would not have dealt with that very well. There's no way they're going to have me leave my gun in front of a bunch of... Oh, you know what happened? Somebody left their gun and then somebody shot it. I think that's what happened. Somebody effing shot their gun. I think that's what it was. So yeah, I can't imagine that going down that way.
I have shot half my gun downrange, but I've not ever dropped it. I damn near dropped it once, and that's how I learned that muzzle flash is, or the cylinder gap is painful to get your hand on. Although I really didn't need that abject lesson. I kind of understood that. I did damn near drop that, either the Black Hawk or the Hunter, I don't know which. And when I went to grab it, I pulled the trigger. To this day, I don't know how it come loose in my hand. It did.
And then the last one is unfamiliar with the functions of a gun. It's like how to hold on to it.
That's another thing I deal with kids.
Oh yeah, everybody or anybody with a Mark II, Mark III, Mark IV. Tons of guns. So
Yeah, I'm certainly not going to have the kids here load bullets and teach them how to load and do the gun at home. That ain't going to ever freaking happen. But they have to learn all that shit standing at the line at the range.
yeah, exactly. So I don't know, bad habit. Well, I guess it's a bad habit again if you're persistently just not letting it sink in, you know, like you're always learning and it's a nuisance to people. But if your thing is to just go to the range and shoot and you don't really care about the function of the gun, so, you know, and you're struggling with it on your own time, I guess not so much a bad habit, it's just maybe annoying to watch somebody fumble around. It's a little, what's the word? Like, you know, it puts people at unease when you don't know what it doesn't look like you know what you're doing. But
well, I run into that shit all the time with 3 guns I got, because these 2 Heritage revolvers and that Phoenix all have hammer block safeties. And I damn near every time I step the line with one, I forget to take that son bitch off. Especially on these revolvers, because it's not.
you're not used to it.
Yeah.
I don't think we have any viewers on the gun channel side anymore. At least nobody's saying nothing except Jay Below. Lost them all to knives, probably.
Yep. That's all right. It's about time for me to have some Chinese for lunch.
Where were we? That was his picture there. HVS had his show. He's up in Prescott. I was hoping to get up there, but it doesn't look like I will. Tried to get him to come down to Phoenix. He didn't want to drive down the crazy roads. He said the roads are too close to the cliffs. He's afraid to drive it. Can't blame him. It is kind of, I mean, it's not, you know, precarious, but it is a little crazy. You're coming 75 miles an hour downhill into cliffs, and there is no guardrail. I don't know why they don't have any guardrail. I guess people don't fly off the side of it, but it is a little crazy.
He lives in fucking Volcano.
Well, that's the thing. You would think he's used to driving around in terrain when he lives on the side of a volcano and whatnot, but maybe he's not doing the driving. But whatever, he didn't want to come down to Phoenix, so I don't think we're going to be able to meet up.
It's too bad.
His Patriot posted Himmler arrested by the British. Humphrey Bogart marries Bacall. I think you mentioned that before when we were off air.
Yeah, that's one I thought was so funny because they're just so extremely opposite.
Although Bogart might star in a movie about somebody who's arrested as maybe the guy arresting the guy who's disguised as a businessman. I doubt he'd play a Nazi. Then this was that thing we were talking about. D.B. Cooper was revealed. So I guess I didn't watch this whole thing because I went to look at it. It was 20 minutes long and I didn't have the time. But I guess looked at I cheated by looking at the what do you call it, the description. And I guess the guy had bragged to his friend. He was a paratrooper and he was in Michigan.
Yeah, I saw that. Back to the Bogart thing. You know, now I know for sure he made two World War II era films that he was kind of fighting against the Nazi, and one of them he was kind of pretending to be a businessman. He was a businessman who was pretending not to fight the Nazis or some shit like that. Casablanca and the African Queen.
African Queen, huh? So I need
That
to.
might have been World War One.
I think that was kind of pre-World War II, but I don't know. I was just going to say those. We should make those movies of the day, and then I should watch those again. I haven't watched Casablanca, and I mean I've seen it, but forever. And
That's a great freaking movie.
it's been a long time.
While I can't think of that woman's name, Ingrid Bergman. God damn, she's good looking.
Well, let's see. Clover had a chat last night. We posted a picture of what is this thing? 1911 with a rubber grip on it. A little commander looking one. Can't tell if that's a little 380 or if that's I don't know what that is.
It's a gun.
Yeah. What do you think about putting them rubber grips on something like that?
I don't care, man, if that's what you want to do to your gun.
This is Russ over on Gun Channel. So this is, if we stop right there, this is out on the west side of Tucson, and he's up on top of a hill here. And at the base of this mountain here is the 3-point shooting range, one of the big shooting ranges in the Tucson area. This is Kitt Peak National Observatory, where they have a big solar observatory. Kind of neat.
Did you watch any of this video? This was kind of funny.
I just kind of skipped through it. I didn't watch the whole 3 minutes, and then he kind of drives down the hill in his little scooter.
Well, the commentary on it was him saying how
Oh, well, hold on.
being angry inspired him.
Because they had just posted some stuff on Instagram walking up a hill in Phoenix.
Get off my butt and get out here and do a little hiking. So, see, up here on the edges of Saguaro National Forest, way up high. Come on, get up here. It's rocky as hell. I'm shaking. Whew.
And this is where I'm thinking, damn, Russ, like, you know better.
But it was worth it. Can't get over how high we are, man. This is incredible. Whew. Never done nothing like this before. So, to heavy and angry, thanks, guys. I don't know that lady.
So instead of walking up the hill, they drove up on the little scooter thing.
Didn't even really look like he was on a hill.
Oh, no, he's way up on the top of that hill right there. This thing's pretty neat. It's kind of cool, though, because I've been thinking about driving on this hill, and I wanted to know what the road was like. So now I have a better idea.
Bad.
Oh, no, the van can get on this easy. It's a little heavy for this, but it can get down all this, I think. That part might not be super great. Pretty bad.
It looks
cut.
hot.
Hot, yeah. It's like going to be 97 today or something. 92 to 97 or something like that. He was out when it was a little hotter, I think. Now this road, I think, might be a little small for a vehicle. I don't know. Maybe drive a car like this. You ever want to get one of them little vehicles like that?
Yes, I do.
I've driven in them at SHOT Show. They used to, well, they have that shoot at the first day of SHOT Show, and for years you'd go to that shoot, and then they'd have these little vehicles, and they just let you go tool around in them, right? They wanted you to experience them, and I drive around in basically environment like this, except Nevada doesn't have any cactuses, so it's more barren, but about the same kind of terrain. And that thing is like being in a freaking cement mixer or something. It's like bam, 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 bouncing all around. I think I'd rather be on a bike where you let the bike take all that abuse, and you're pivoting on the pegs. Your shins and our legs are going to take some bouncing, but you know what I mean? The back and forth, the shaking and back and forth and up and down was killing me.
We use a golf cart at work, gasoline powered golf cart, or back when I worked there, and it wouldn't take super rough terrain, but it did fairly well. But my brother-in-law's got a John Deere, one of them gators, and I'm thinking about buying that off of him just to get around town on, because I don't need to fucking roll out this Suburban every time I want to go to the damn store. And it's legal for us to get them street legal here and drive them.
Yeah, I could totally see it as an alternative to a vehicle for like going to the mailbox or going, like, say, to the store, pick something up, and just being like an inexpensive vehicle. But like, say, for off road, I didn't like. I think I'd rather have a bike for going off road. So that's a cool video, though. Thanks, Russ, for posting that. And plus, it gives everybody an idea what the desert's like out here. So, we're definitely desert, but we're not like, the sand and the occasional cactus like some people think. That's Nevada. That's what Nevada looks like a little bit in some places, and a bunch of New Mexico looks like. But we only have a little tiny chunk of Arizona that's like that. Most of us looks, at least where we live, it looks like that. And it'll look a lot greener when it's wet. Like right now, it's dry, starting. In a couple of months, or a couple weeks even, that thing will be all wet and in bloom. It'd be neat if you did a comparison video, because it will definitely not look, it'll look lush. It won't look that, you don't think desert when you look at it, except for the lack of trees. You just think, anyway. I got a couple of things up for sale. I got this lockbox from NAA. I got a bunch of knives, got some more things. I got a bunch of catalogs and things. Stuff is going to be going up on eBay all the time. So check out 24-Hour Gun Show. You can find it at the bottom of Gun Channels when you're logged in at this little link down here. It's also a channel, so you'll see it in the list of channels over here as well. Remember these lists of channels every once in a while. Or just type in Gun Show after Gun Channels. And I encourage other people to stick their stuff over there. It's not just for my stuff. So if you've got something you'd like to buy, sell, or trade, stick it up there. And it doesn't cost nothing. And the more people that post stuff over there, the more effective it'll be for all of us. So I would appreciate that. And if you're interested in buying anything, please do. If anybody can buy stuff off of me before HVS leaves town, that'd be great. If I had enough cash, then I could head up there right now. I'm just kind of real broke. But keep going. Ghost posted a thing about tips for beginners. I haven't watched it yet. Curious to see what he's doing there. Some sort of fundamentals series. I'd be curious. I think we looked at this yesterday, right? About the CMCs. So that's pretty much the day in gun channels. We appreciate everybody that uses the main page to post gun news. Stay tuned to the Early Watch Nation for Second Amendment related news of the various states that are out there. A lot of people putting effort in on that, and that's what this show is all about, helping coordinate that. If you want to send stuff to Tony to talk about, what's the email?
earlywatchil@gmail.com, and that's Early Watch, like the show, abbreviation for the state of Illinois, IL, and then Gmail. And yes, I appreciate the effort that's being done all around on this deal. And if you want information to get put on this show, you really need to send it to me personally. Otherwise, I ain't able to check the other stuff. Like the Early Watch Nation, I don't have access to that. So if you want information to get on the show while Jimmy's in absentia, you need to send it to me.
Right on, see Dead Horse out there on the Gun Channel side. Thanks for jumping in. Everybody on the YouTube side, 13 people watching, 10 thumbs up to appreciate that. We'll be back here tomorrow.
Alrighty. Yeah. Thanks, y'all, and good day to everybody.